Hey everyone, this is Ryder from Skip. I hope you're doing well. It's Friday, September 25th. I have a very quick update on the latest stimulus package that the Democrats put forth yesterday, the $2.4 trillion package. I'm going to talk about what's in it, why the Democrats think this has some potential, and in my opinion, if this has legs to be passed and to reach an agreement before the election. I'm going to talk about that in this brief video. I hope you're having a good week, and I hope you have a good weekend as well. Okay, let's dive into the news that you're probably aware of that was announced yesterday. House Democrats prepare new $2.4 trillion stimulus plan with unemployment aid, direct payments, aka stimulus checks, and a whole bunch more. Okay, first, let's talk about why they did this. Their goal, obviously, is to resume the stalled negotiations. The biggest question mark was why this was $200 billion more than Pelosi's last offer. So if you recall, about a month ago now, Pelosi said she would come down to just over $2 trillion as a compromise. That was down from the original $3 trillion package. That was passed, but Republicans said no way. So again, as we've said many times, the gap has been between 1.5 trillion and 2 trillion, because even the Republicans said they would go up to 1.5 trillion. That's the gap, 500 billion. So the big question is, what's in this package and what makes Pelosi think that this will be any different? So here are some of the details. House Democrats are preparing a new, smaller coronavirus relief package expected to cost $2.4 trillion as they try to forge ahead with talks with the Trump administration, aka Steve Mnuchin, who's leading it from the Republican side. Here's what the bill would include: the stimulus checks, another PPP round, small business loan funding, and aid to airlines, among other provisions, the person said. Now, the details aren't out. As soon as the details come out, we will link to it in our next video. So, of course, please subscribe if you haven't. Also, this weekend, I'm going to detail some new grant programs that are available, so another reason to hit subscribe. The Democrats aim to restart stimulus negotiations with the White House after talks fell apart last month. And according to the New York Times, Steve Mnuchin is ready to talk again as well. Here's what he said yesterday. I've probably spoken to Speaker Pelosi 15 or 20 times in the last few days on the CR, the continuing resolution, and we've agreed to continue to have discussions about the CARES Act. Okay, that's what Steve Mnuchin said. All right, so we've heard that many times from him, from her, right? And then Pelosi said, I'm talking with my caucus, my leadership, and we'll see what we're going to do. She told reporters, but we're ready for a negotiation. That's what we're ready for. For everyone hearing that right now, you're probably rolling your eyes because you've heard her say that probably 50 times over the past 3 months. And Mnuchin said the same thing as well. So again, words are meaningless at this point, but I do, for the purposes of this video, want to take a closer look at what's in the stimulus bill and why Republicans may be willing to agree to it. Here's what Forbes put together. As we noted in our videos last week, there was the $1.5 trillion package that 50 lawmakers, half Republicans, half Democrats, put together last week, which I thought was a great move. It had a lot of what everyone wants in it. And my opinion was Pelosi should agree to that and get the troops rallied behind that $1.5 trillion deal, because the point is, time is money. For the American people, we hate waiting. We don't want to wait for a lame duck session past November. If there's a lame duck session, people need money in their pockets now, both individuals and small businesses. But this was what was put together last week, and then yesterday they announced the new deal. Now, some of the sticking points seem to have changed. For example, in the previous Democrat bill, there was $950 billion in state and local aid, which is still very important. But in this bill, experts believe that it will be lower. It'll be $500 billion or so. So it'll be far less than Pelosi has demanded. So that's a big decrease, and that might help Republicans view this bill differently than the other ones that we've seen already. And in this, there's also airline aid, which is important to Republicans. There's a huge threat that airlines will have to lay off thousands and thousands of jobs in the coming months if nothing is done. So there will likely be some provisions for airlines in this bill as well. But here is the political calculation. Okay, the November 3rd election has, of course, here we go, factored into lawmakers' calculations on whether to pass more aid and how to structure it, right? And I said this several weeks ago, that it's all going to come down to the election and political maneuvering, okay? Vulnerable Senate Republicans and House Democrats have pushed for concrete actions because they want to do something good for their constituents. They're out there campaigning. So as we near the election, right, that's the only case where people would want to act on this. if they really think it's going to help their re-election cause or their party, broadly speaking. The alternative is Democrats think that if Trump doesn't win and more Democrats win seats in Congress and the Senate, they'll be able to push through a bigger package. So again, no one wants to wait on that, but that's what Democrats are thinking about. And the bottom line is it's more talk, in my opinion. I do think they should have gone with the compromise that was put forth last week, but that's wishful thinking. And at the other end, we have Mark Cuban, the billionaire, and he's pushing again for every American household to receive $1,000 bi-weekly stimulus checks for the next 2 months. He said that before, he said this again to CNBC. His point is the American people need help. And that's my point, and that's why we're giving away all of our YouTube revenue this month to give out to subscribers. We're going to announce those next week. If you are not aware of that yet, I'm going to link to that video. But you need to watch that video and subscribe to this channel to be entered. All right, as always, thanks so much for watching and supporting us. Stay well, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow.